Hi there, everybody. Welcome back. This is Kevin Smith with First Team Real Estate here in Southern California. Today, I wanted to touch on some things that have come up with a couple of my buyers and also some of my renters. And that is credit scores, keeping them high, getting them to be better. So if you are planning on buying in the future, you get the best rates with your mortgage companies. So I'm going to point out a couple of big tips that I use, and then also some of the credit card companies out there use to maintain and to increase your credit score. Now, the one that I think is the most important, and that is setting up an automatic payment. No matter what card I have, setting up an automatic payment. And that could be just setting up the minimum payment. So, you're on vacation, you're out of town, you get busy, it's a weekend, you have a credit card that's due. At least setting up that automatic payment for the minimum is going to make sure that your credit cards are never late. And this is the most important because this drops the score tremendously with just one late payment. The second is the utilization rate. They have like a 15:3 utilization ratio, which basically is just breaking it down. So you have your statement date. That's when the credit cards will pull your balance, and that's what your balance will show on your statement. By setting up a statement close date and then actually paying the payment maybe 15 days ahead of time, that will make sure that your balance ratios and that the interest that you're getting charged is not going to be more than zero. So if you pay them off all at one time at the end of the month, that's great. But what I like to do is make sure that my payments are made 15 days earlier than the close date, statement date on the credit card statement. Now, this other tip here is keeping your utilization below a certain percentage. Now, the best ultimate is paying off your credit cards is great and not having any balance at all, but sometimes you'll have 1 month where you have to carry a balance. So keeping it between 1 and 7 is optimal. So if you have a $10,000 credit limit on a card, keeping it below 1,000 would be less than 10%, 7% would even be better. Some credit card and some information out there says less than 30%. So I would say to my clients, it's not necessarily better to pay all of them off. It would be better just to have all the different credit cards that you have and have them lower than 10%. Or lower than 30%. And that'll boost your credit score up quicker than trying to pay them all off and still having high balances on some and no balances on others. Now, increasing the limits on your credit cards is fairly easy, especially if you're in good standing. So you can do this, every 6 months or so and just call the credit card companies that you have good relationships with. Some are the older ones, and then just ask them for an increase in your credit. By increasing your credit limit, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be maxing it out, but increasing your credit limit, over the years, you go from 100,000 to 120,000 to 150,000, and then up to, $200,000 limit. That gives you the opportunity to have the money if you need it, but also increases the percentage of usage versus the debt that you owe. Kind of connects with making your payments automatically and setting up automatic payments, but this is having a backup calendar alert. I like to touch this on 2 different points. Putting it in your calendar with your phone and having little reminders that your Citibank is due this week and your car payments due next week and your mortgage payments due this day. That will make sure that you have your bills paid on time. And of course, I think all of mine are automatic and paid online or by apps. But setting up a date in your calendar is a good reminder. The other thing that I like to also mention to my clients is setting up notifications on the actual bank account or the credit card account. So for instance, if I'm buying gas at Costco, I put my credit card in. As soon as I purchase the gas or as soon as I'm done purchasing the gas, I'll get a notification on my text message saying that I had just purchased gas. So if you're married and you have someone using your card or you have joint accounts, you're getting notifications on what's being spent. So you're not going over limits. You just kind of have an idea of what's going on in the household, or just having, for instance, your card gets stolen and you're getting a notification that your card's been hacked or stolen or being used someplace else. You'll also know right away. That way you can turn off that credit card and not have to cancel necessarily the card to see if maybe you've lost it or somebody's actually using it illegally. Another great tip is to never close your credit cards. So as I mentioned earlier before, I have some credit cards that go back 25 years. I know my very first credit card was the Sears credit cards. We don't have Sears Roebuck anymore, but I bought a TV on that one. And from there, I just built my credit card catalog, I guess, over the years. So never close your credit card history. By closing your credit card account, you're just cutting the utilization down, the percentage of the amount of debt, the amount of open accounts that you have. And it's just kind of nice to have. The other thing to do also is to make sure that you're using your credit cards. I know I've gotten notices in the mail before that if you're not using your credit card, they'll just automatically close them. or reduce the limit that you have to use. So making sure that you use the credit cards every once in a while, and then again, if you want to pay them off early, that's great, but making sure that you keep that account active and open and never closing them. Now, of course, if you are looking to purchase a property and you need to get a loan, you'll need to kind of plan ahead. But also when having credit cards, you may have to, on a quarterly basis, a yearly basis, on your taxes are due, but making sure that you review your credit report. I have two apps that I love, and that's Credit Karma, which is free. It keeps a running tally of your consumer debt. It shows your mortgages, if you have credit cards, if you have auto loans. It's a great app. It gives you kind of a rough estimate as to what your credit card score is. The other one that I love is Rocket Money. That one tells you if you have payments coming up, again, to keep your budget in line, to making sure that you're utilizing your credit correctly and keeping your score as high as possible, so there's no surprises when you go to apply for a mortgage. These are some of the greatest tips that I've come up with. If you have more, feel free to reach out to me and let me know what you do. Getting your credit cards paid down, making sure that you have no fraud on your accounts, and keeping your credit score as high as possible will result in getting you the best mortgage if you're purchasing a loan, to get the best rates, the best conditions, so that you can buy the best house that you can. If you have any further questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me either by phone, text, or email. I look forward to speaking to you all again next week. Take care and have a great week.